Arthur Diles. Arthur, what's up with that?
The man everyone was talking about Mission Local Aid, will he be able to play or is it too much?
Yeah, we're not sure yet. Yeah, it's still early. We'll give him to the 11th hour and we'll make that decision on Friday. But at this stage, it's probably 50-50.
24 hours ago, I asked if you said there was hope he would make some progress. Have you seen him? Is he walking a bit better today? Or?
He's walking better, but yeah, one thing's to walk and one thing's to be up for a final. But in terms of general walking, yeah, he is better. Significant improvement in that regard. But yeah, still way too early to have a clearer indication.
Mitch Lightfoot, we saw getting involved in some training yesterday. Is he fit to play a role there, whether he starts or on the bench?
Yeah, he did a little bit yesterday. He did a little bit more today. We'll see tomorrow how he pulls up because it'll be first time he's done 2 days back to back. So it'll be a big test for him. And then again, he's one of those ones who put in that bracket of wait and see.
Adama and Casey also look to be running pretty freely yesterday. Are they fit to play?
Yeah, they're looking good actually. So that's a nice bit of news that they're in a much better position than we anticipated last week. So yeah, if it keeps going like this, come Friday, I think they'll be up for selection.
How do you handle it with playing group throughout the week? Because obviously you don't want this to be a distraction, but at the same time, you want to keep hoping those guys who've got injuries. How do you manage it these days leading up?
Yeah, it's just it's part of the game really. The players are aware, they know the situation, so we don't give it too much attention. They're doing their bit behind the scenes and off the park. Everyone else is doing their bit on the park, and in the end they're looking out for themselves, making sure they're all fit and up for selection because they all want to play.
Arthur, you're a Sydney sider growing up. What's it like to be coaching Melbourne Victory? Could you ever have dreamed you'd be leading Melbourne Club in a grand final?
Yeah, it's a privilege and an honour, and something I value highly. Fantastic club. It's a massive club in Australian football with a great history. From the inception of the A-League. So, yeah, to be the leader of the club at the moment, it's something that I'm really proud of, and yeah, I take it in my stride and keep working hard to make sure that I can be here as long as possible.
Obviously, the players would have been on a high after the game in Auckland. How do you manage their emotions heading into this, knowing there is another bigger game around the corner?
Yeah, it's not easy because like everything, it's finals football and there's huge emotion involved. So it's not just the physical toll that it takes on you; it's also the mental and the emotional toll. And that's important that when they have their day off and they come back in the day after, that they've let that go. They've enjoyed that moment. We definitely want them to enjoy that moment and know how beautiful that feels. But then when we come back on the training park, we want them ready to go again because that if you want that feeling again, you've got to prepare again the way you did and be ready for something even more difficult.
I guess one of the downsides of setting into the head coaching role is that it's now on you to look at some boys and tell them you're not playing on Saturday. You get to give some boys their dreams, but others can't. How do you go about approaching that?
Yeah, that comes with the territory. It's never a nice thing to leave a player out of any game, and every week there has to be players that miss out. And that's probably the part of coaching that's not something I enjoy, but in the end, that's part of the job. And along the way, if you're honest with your players, they might not like what they hear or the situation, but they'll always respect and appreciate your honesty. So, I've been very honest and open with my players from day one, and that won't change.
Does that get to that spirit of respect that you talked about trying to foster in the dressing room? You respect them, they respect you. That's what this success is built on? Absolutely.
Respect is a key part of our DNA on how we want to behave every day as human beings, how we want to train every day as athletes, and how we want to be as a team. And when you have that, it obviously, it's never easy and doesn't make it better, but it gives you the best of a bad situation, I suppose. So, yeah, respect is vital, and it works both ways, from me to the players and the players to me and my coaching staff.
What was the toughest sort of thing to turn around or to build on when you took over the job and in those early losses? What were the things that you really had to...
The toughest was the first 24 hours, trying to overcome the shock and no sleep. Once I had a good night's sleep, I was fine after that. But yeah, look, I think it's been well documented that maybe the start wasn't great in terms of results, but we were quietly confident because we know we were performing quite well, and in the end, that's what turns things around. When you continue to work hard, you keep working every day, you keep sticking to the process, and when you do that, that shows there's belief, and as long as there's belief, there's always a chance. So, yeah, they've never wavered from that, and that's why in the end we are where we are.
Last question.
If someone 12 months ago told you you'd be leading out Melbourne Victory to a grand final as a senior coach, would you have believed it?
Probably not. But that's football, and we know whether you're a player or a staff member involved in football, everything can change very quickly. You know, 1 minute you can be down, next minute you can be up, and on the flip side you can be up 1 minute and down the very next, and that's something that you can never take for granted. That's something that you always got. I believe that you always got to be humbled and keep your feet on the ground, because it can change very quick. It can change with a result, and that's the nature of the beast of the industry that we're in. It's something that I take in my stride. I'm aware of that. I know the consequences, and I also know the joys, and I focus on the joys more than the consequences.
How much family have you got coming in for the game?
Yeah, a busload.
It's going to be pumping here. It's expected to be very pro-Victory despite being technically your away grand final. Sell-out crowd. How big is this? One for you if you can lead Victory to this championship.
Huge.
Two for Australian football, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, Australian football is always at the forefront. Making sure that our game is where it needs to be, and so for the game it's huge. For our club it's massive. Irrespective that we've been there many times before, you never take that for granted. Every grand final that you can play in is massive, and this week will be no different. Being the away team, it'll be a unique feeling as an away team, probably having the majority of the fans in here. We know our fans are fantastic, and I expect on Saturday night this place to be shaking, and we're looking forward to that.
Thank you, everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks, Al. Good luck.
Thank you.